The Adventures of Harry Nile.
I don't know, Harry. I've been a cop in this town going on 25 years, and I never seen anything like this. This makes 3 bank jobs and 2 jewelry jobs in 10 days. And if we got a suspect, forget it. These guys take their loot and just disappear.
Frank Laval has to be one frustrated detective to let on that the police department is stumped. Frank's a lieutenant in the larceny branch. He's not the kind of guy to share police matters with a private detective. Until this Sunday morning when I noticed a flock of police cars in front of Elliott Bay National Bank on 2nd Avenue.
I don't suppose you saw anything funny around here?
When?
Last night. You cruised around the lot. See anyone around this bank in the wee hours?
Hey, I'd have called it in if I had.
They blasted through the floor of the vault and helped themselves during the power outage last night.
Oh, was there a power outage?
1 o'clock this morning. The power went out in a 6-block square. City Light just got it back on an hour ago. Somehow, the thieves got into one of those underground manholes and cut off the power, so they had 7 hours to do their dirty work and no one the wiser.
Same M.O. as the other 2 bank jobs?
No, that's it. Each one's entirely different. Last Thursday, it was an arms stick-up during lunch hour at Northwestern National. They got away clean. Friday, they're waiting in the alley behind Merchants Consolidated when the armored truck pulls up, slugged the driver and guard, tied them up, and stripped off their uniforms, put them on, and collected the week's bank deposits, and they're gone.
Oh, yeah. And they found the truck over in White Center somewhere. Yeah, I read about that.
Yeah, so did the mayor. He's steaming mad. Monday and Tuesday of this week, they hit the jewelry stores. Now this. They punched into the vault from the basement below. You should see the place. It's a wreck down there.
How much they get?
Nobody knows till they count what's left. But the bank manager tells me it'll be in the millions.
You think the same bunch did the jewelry stores, too?
I don't know about that. These bugs have a class system, you know. The top guy would be a nitro expert. Works only on vaults. Like this bank job. Part engineer, part scientist.
Yeah, and all crook.
Yeah. And then there's the lock man, like whoever pulled the jewelry store heists. Let himself in and out like he owned the place. Then you got your dangerous types, like the ones who tied up the armored truck guards. And the crudest of them all, your armed stick-up guys. Like the ones did the Northwestern job on Thursday.
So there's no chance this crime wave is the work of just one gang?
I'm not saying that, Harry. It could be, but each job is different. 5 major heists in 10 days? What are the odds on that? And the getaways?
What about the getaways?
These guys don't leave a trace behind them. It's like the city just swallowed them up.
On this Sunday in 1952, the city sleeps late. The shopkeepers and their customers are home reading the papers, or doing some chores, or maybe a little fishing. But downtown in the city by the Sound, a dozen policemen are very much awake, and Detective Lieutenant Frank Laval is frustrated enough to reach for any help he can get, even from a private eye named Harry Nile.
I suppose you ran into this kind of thing all the time when you were a cop in Chicago.
Yeah, seen it happen,
Well, what the Sam Hill can we do to put a collar on these boys before the mayor blows a gasket?
You asking me?
Yeah, that's about how desperate I am. I'll even ask...
Excuse me, is one of you Harry Nile?
Yeah, that's me.
They told me you're a private investigator. I'm Charles Brady. I'm vice president of the bank.
Well, my condolences, Mr. Brady. You know Lieutenant Laval from the police?
How do you do? Are you available to handle a case, Mr. Nile? This case?
Well, it's a police matter, Mr. Brady. You can see
yes,
the police
well, I'm
are here.
afraid I'm losing confidence in the police. These robbers seem to be able to pull off anything they like, whenever they like. When's it going to stop? We have a couple of other branch bank locations, you know.
Mr. Brady, believe me, we're doing all we can.
Yeah, I'm sure you are, Lieutenant, but I think it's time the bank took some steps on its own to put a stop to this. Are you available, Mr. Nile, for an independent investigation?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, then consider yourself hired. Lieutenant, can you give my investigator a pass or something so he can go wherever he likes?
Harry? Yeah, he can go right straight through. Well, I'll authorize a crime scene pass for Mr. Nile. I'm sure we'll all be grateful for his help.
Brady and I walked past the police line and into the bank, down into the vault. And it is a mess. In the center of the floor, there's a 3-foot hole in the concrete.
Well, that's how they got in, you see. Blasted through 16 inches of concrete. The door was on a time lock. They never even tried it. They blew a hole in the floor and came in from the basement.
Now, wait a minute. No, don't go into the vault.
Danger. All right, it's all right.
Well, Brady, stop. Don't go into the vault there. They put a rope up there to preserve the evidence.
Don't tell me what to do on my own building, mister. I own this bank.
No, you own a crime scene. You go in there and mess up the evidence, they could fine you or sock you in jail.
All right, Mr. Nile. You're the expert. I guess that's why I hired you.
Next, we go down some old stairs to the basement, which is also roped off. Frank Laval joins us.
They'll be finished down here in a few minutes.
What are they doing?
Trying to lift some footprints, but frankly, it's no use.
Why is that, Lieutenant?
They wore sacks over their shoes.
Sacks?
To blur the shoe print pattern and keep anything from the crime scene from sticking to the shoe sole. So when the caper's done, all they have to do is dispose of the sacks. Their shoes will be clean. Oh, these guys are pros. No doubt about that.
At this point, Brady gives me a set of keys and then leaves to go to church. And I leave to collect overalls, flashlights, and, Murphy.
No police?
They did all they could, I guess.
It's kind of eerie, isn't it?
What?
Well, being all alone in an empty bank. No guards or anything?
Yeah, well, there's not much left to steal. Oh, here's the vault.
Oh, horrible.
Come on, I'll show you where we're going to be working. I lead Murphy down the stairs to the basement in the space directly beneath the vault.
So this is where they blew the hole in the vault floor.
Only they didn't use explosives.
They didn't? How do you know?
Well, the shape of the hole. And no blast scorches on the concrete around the hole. And see here, against this wall of the basement, stacks of filing cartons made of heavy green cardboard.
So?
Well, if they'd blown that hole in the ceiling, there would have been chunks of concrete flying around like shrapnel in here. These boxes would have some holes in them.
Well then, how do you think they made that big hole?
I think with an air hammer, like they used to dig up streets, but that takes an air compressor, and there's no way in the world they could have gotten something that big down here.
Well then, how did they do it?
Well, that's what we have to find out. I put Murphy to work with a flashlight, peering into the narrow spaces between the stacks of file boxes for anything at all that might not belong in a dead storage room.
Harry, I see something.
Huh? What you got?
Oh, something shiny on the floor between these two stacks of files. Can you see it?
Let me... Huh. Hey, wait a minute. What's going on? You feel that?
The floor, it's vibrating. It's shaking.
Murphy, I thought they didn't get earthquakes up here.
One person was killed in an earthquake in Seattle in 1949. They get earthquakes, Harry.
Well, I think we're having one now.
Harry, I think it's dying down.
Yeah, it is. What the heck was it? It wasn't an earthquake. The ground didn't shake, but it vibrated. It trembled, and so did I.
And now I smell something. Something like, well, something hot.
Yeah. Yeah, I do too. And it's getting warm in here. Uh-oh.
What?
Seems to me there's a steam plant somewhere west of here, down by Alaskan Way. Could be a steam pipe let go.
Do you think we ought to get up out of here?
Well, I guess whatever it was, it's over.
Oh, I sure hope so.
Okay, show me, what was it that you spotted with your flashlight?
Well, it was down between these stacks of file cartons, back by the wall of the basement. Now, if you hold the light just right and
Oh,
squint...
yeah, I see it. I see it, a little thing, like a little metal can, kind of square. Kind of like a can of Prince Albert smoking tobacco or something.
Only it's not red, it's a dark color.
Murphy, you feel up to helping me move some of these file cartons? The cartons are stacked 6 feet high, 6 rows of them, each carton about 2 feet square and filled with credit records, deeds, real estate loans, documents going back as far as 1920. Together we manhandle 1 row of them down to the floor and slide them away from the wall, and they're all covered with dust, particles of powdered concrete from the air hammer. And then, finally...
There it is. But what is it?
It's square and shiny. You know what this is?
What?
A battery. It's a battery, like they put in those, those powerful lanterns, only a different shape. But see, look here, there's the positive and the negative terminals.
Now, why would they store a battery down here?
No, they didn't store it. The battery hasn't been here longer than a couple of hours. Because look, here, everything in here is covered with concrete dust except this battery. This thing was dropped on the floor after that hole was drilled up into the vault. So this battery belonged to the burglars.
Is that important?
You better believe it. You got a handkerchief?
Yes.
Well, let me borrow it. I want to wrap the battery in it so I can save the fingerprints that might be on it.
Then you'll take it to the police.
Well, yeah, eventually, Murphy, sure. We stack the file boxes back where we found them and climb up out of the basement, lock up the bank good and tight, and then I drive uptown to one of the few drugstores open on Sunday. One of those stores that sell everything from aspirin to seat covers.
Can I help you with something?
Yeah, you sell batteries for those electric camping lanterns?
Yes, sir, we do.
Well, how about one this size?
Let's see.
Please, don't handle it.
Don't handle it? Why?
Well, I don't want your fingerprints on it.
Oh, are you a policeman?
Well, I'm an investigator, yeah.
Oh, I see. Well, looking at that battery, no, I've never seen one like that in an electric lantern.
You haven't, huh?
No, see, it's not a commercial battery.
What do you mean?
Well, a commercial battery has a label, with a brand name on it. This is just olive drab, like it was Army issue.
Army issue. Of course. I thank the drugstore clerk and we take off to the one store I know about where they carry Army surplus. Chubby and Tubby's, out on Rainier Avenue.
Sure. This battery came out of a handy-talkie.
You mean walkie-talkie?
Well, the walkie-talkies were bigger, 25, 30 pounds. You wore the transmitter on your back. But this battery here came from a little handheld unit they called a handy-talkie. We got some right over here.
Huh. What's the range?
Oh, a mile maybe.
I see. I think I'll buy a pair.
So you bought yourself some toys.
Toys? Nothing. Two-way radios like these played a part in that bank job. The way I figure it, one of the guys inside was talking by radio with a lookout on the outside. He carried a spare battery, and he must have dropped it while he was leaving the basement of the bank. This is how they get away clean from all their jobs. They keep in touch with each other by radio.
So now you are going to give the battery to the police.
Yeah, all in good time, Murphy, all in good time. First, I have to make a stop by the office. Okay, pull down the wall map of the city, will you, Murph?
Sure. What are you looking for?
Oh, I just want to pinpoint the locations of those 5 robberies. Let's see.
The first one was at Northwestern National Bank.
Uh-huh. Now, that's located on 4th Avenue between Spring and Madison. Stick a pin in there, will you?
A pin. All right. There.
Now, the second job was...
Merchants Consolidated at 3rd and University.
All right, put a pin in there.
Okay.
And the 2 jewelry stores.
One on Seneca Street, and the other was just across the street from Elliott Bay National.
2nd and Union.
Pins?
Please.
Harry, look.
Yeah, I see. If you drew a line connecting all 5 burglary sites, it would run north along 4th Avenue for a block or so, then cut diagonally across lower downtown, then from 4th Avenue to 2nd and Union, the exact path of the railroad tunnel that runs under the city.
Then it wasn't an earthquake or a steam pipe. It was a train going through the tunnel right under our feet.
Hand me the phone, Murph.
Now you are going to tell the police.
No, I'm calling the railroad yard.
You want to do what?
Well, I want permission to walk through the railway tunnel under Seattle.
Why would you want to do that?
I'm a private investigator. I want to see if there's any vents connecting the tunnel with the surface.
Well, nobody's allowed in the tunnel without special permission. The guy you want to talk to is the yard master.
No, sir, I can't let you in the tunnel. Too dangerous. Every now and then some bum wanders in there to get out of the rain, then cops have to go in and put a bag on him and bring him out. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get what you're saying. But I have to get in there. So after dark, Sunday night, 2 flashlights, my walkie-talkie, I enter the tunnel at the south portal just under Washington Street. It's dripping wet. It's cold in there with a bad-smelling wind blowing through the blackness from the other end of the tunnel 3,000 feet away. I've stationed Murphy in the basement of the bank with the other radio.
Harry, can you hear me?
Loud and clear, Murphy. Am I coming through?
Well, there's a lot of static.
Yeah, well, let's hope this trip isn't for nothing. You doing okay up there?
I think there are rats in here, Harry.
Yeah. Well, We've proven the burglars could have used a two-way radio between the basement and the train tunnel, so why don't you go out and clear out of the bank and take the car and drive down to the North Portal just off Alaskan Way between Pine and Virginia. Should take me about 20 minutes. Man, it stinks in here. They finished this tunnel in 1904. I bet they haven't cleaned it since. Well, I should be under 4th Avenue now, where they pulled the first bank job. But the flashlight doesn't show any vent in the tunnel anywhere. There's no air shaft. Huh? Okay, I gotta just keep going. What was that? Is that a ferry horn or a train horn? Maybe I was wrong. Maybe this isn't escape after all. Okay, the tunnel's curving to the left now. That means I'm almost under 4th and Seneca, and still no air shaft. No, wait. What's this? Look at this. It's a grating, iron bars along the east side of the tunnel, about 4 feet off the tracks. Yeah, rusty iron bars. And some places here where the rust's been rubbed off. What's behind it? Oh, if I can swing it open. Now, where does this thing go? I'll shine my light in here. Hey, it's another tunnel. It's just about tall enough to stand in. What the heck is this? A little tunnel parallel to the main one. Now what do I hear? Someone else is in the tunnel. Someone's running and getting closer. I think I'll hoist myself up into this tunnel, get out of sight. There. Now I'll work my way back in here.
Hey, fella. Hey, I know you're in here. We gotta get out of here. There's a train due through here. Hey, fella, hey, I'm with the railroad. Oh, okay. You found the pioneer shaft. Well, that shaft doesn't go anywhere. Don't be a fool.
Well, who are you anyway? How'd you know I was in here?
Well, you told me on the phone you wanted to go in the tunnel.
The railroad dispatcher.
You're right. Now, come on out.
Okay, listen, what's this second tunnel for?
Well, they dug it before they dug the main tunnel. It's called a Pioneer.
Does it connect with any of the buildings up on the surface?
Now, why would you be interested in that?
Well, I'm investigating a bank robbery. The burglars had to have some way of getting out of sight in a hurry.
And you figured they used the railroad tunnel.
That's right.
Give me the radio there.
I didn't give it to you.
Hand it over. That's railroad property.
Oh, I'm sorry, fella. I bought it from Chubby and Tubby's.
You hear that? It means we got 30 seconds before that engine enters the tunnel. You let me up in there with you. It's just heading into the tunnel now. This engine's hauling 70 freight cars. They'll be going through here about 10 miles an hour.
Okay, before it gets too loud to talk, tell me, does this Pioneer tunnel we're in connect to any building's topside?
Why?
Well, the robberies. They were all in buildings that stand right above the tunnel.
Oh, you're pretty sharp. Yeah, these old buildings each have passageways from their basements that connect with this Pioneer tunnel. They were dug during Prohibition, so rum runners could bring in booze from Canada after midnight down on the waterfront and then move the goods into town through the tunnel and up into these basements and from there to the speakeasies. The feds never found out how they did it.
And now, stolen money and jewels are moving through the tunnel the other way. Onto a train and out of town before anyone knows what happened.
You're brilliant. Too bad you won't be taking credit for your discovery. Now, this is a very sharp knife, Mr. Detective. Turn around and face the tracks. Train's about 30 seconds away from us now. Oh, you can let go of that walkie-talkie. I'd hate to see it grit ground under the train wheels when you hit the tracks.
So you stabbed me and shoved me in front of the train. Is that the plan?
That's the plan,
You
yeah.
got your timing down, have you?
I'm very good at timing. You see, after each robbery, the boys slipped down into this here tunnel and waited for my signal on the two-way radio.
You were in the rail yard.
Sure. I'd fix it so the sliding door was open on an empty boxcar. All I had to do then was radio them when the train was coming and how many cars back in the train the empty was. And as it moved past this opening, they'd count the cars and jump into the empty one. Shove the door closed. Next stop, Everett, and home for dinner. Now, here comes your train. Wait a minute.
A split second before he's ready to stick me with a knife, I jump down onto the tracks. And I turn my ankle and I go down in a heap on the tracks. Just as the nose of that huge diesel grinds around the bend of the tunnel. But it's really moving. And in front of it, here comes Lieutenant Frank Laval.
Harry, I I could hear everything that happened in that tunnel on my walkie-talkie.
Bet you didn't know radio could be so exciting, huh?
It's a good thing that crook didn't know you were pressing the transmit button on your radio all the time he was shooting his mouth off. That's how the train engineer was able to stop the train in time. And we were able to shut off the dispatcher's escape routes.
Then you got him?
That we did. We posted men in the basements of each tunnel, and it wasn't long before he came out with his hands up.
But now you've got to get the rest of the gang.
Leave that to us. The hard part's over. And I hate to admit it, Harry, but you found an escape route we could have been looking for years.
Harry Goes Underground was directed by Pat French and featured Phil Harper as Harry Nile, Pat French as Murphy, Ray Court as Lieutenant Laval, Loie Norrix as Charles Brady, Terry Rose as the dispatcher, Karen Anderson and Brad Perkins as the clerks, and Jay Green as the yardmaster. Live sound effects were created by Stu Conway, Ben Peterson, and Sean O'Mara. Dialogue recording by Peggy Stokes. The Adventures of Harry Nile are created and produced by Jim French. This program was recorded before a live audience in Seattle. Jay Green speaking.